Hi, welcome everyone to the International Care Conference. We're ready to start the conference now. Please be seated. So welcome everyone once again to the International Care Conference on Aging Societies and Care Economy, Gender, Transnational Migration, and Development. My name is Hyun-Jae Lee, Program Manager at the Center for Transnational Migration Social Inclusion at Seoul National University, and I have the honor of emceeing for this event today. So this event is the fourth of its kind after the events in 2019 and 2021, which has brought together international experts from across disciplines and sectors to discuss the urgent issue of care. This year, CTMS is fortunate to be able to host most of our international and local participants here at the beautiful campus of Seoul National University. And this is thanks to our great partners, the Development Cooperation Policy Program run by Seoul National University Graduate School of International Studies and KOICA, and Korean Association of Women's Studies. And of course, our supportive sponsors, POSCO and Open Society Foundations. Last year, we have gathered with leaders from across sectors to reaffirm and reevaluate the importance of care, which is fundamental to all human lives and important for our sustainable future. This year, we plan to continue this conversation against the backdrop of the critical demographic security crisis, which looms over not only Asia, but also beyond. More specifically, we will dive deep into the care crisis exacerbated by declining fertility rates, increasing population aging, and of course, the global pandemic from which most countries are still reeling from. Day one of our conference was held yesterday. It was conducted in a closed meeting format with the efforts to better understand care economies in context. We had 3 excellent presentations and an engaging roundtable discussion, which allowed us to exchange knowledge on the specific situation in select Asian countries and how we can improve on the ongoing local and global researches. Today is our second day, for which we have prepared 2 sessions. The first session will explore care issues from the lenses of gender, development, and the young generation. And the second session will zoom in on how the care crisis in Korea is interconnected with migrant care work. We anticipate another great exchange of knowledge to follow today. So before we start our program, some housekeeping rules. In accordance with the government and Seoul National University's COVID-19 policies, please wear a mask at all times within indoor public areas, except while eating and drinking. I ask for everyone's kind understanding and cooperation. So without further ado, we are now ready to start our conference. I would like to first welcome Professor Tae-Gyun Park, Professor of Korean Studies and the Director of the Gender and Development Program at SNU GSIS. So please welcome him with a warm round of applause.
Good afternoon. As introduced, my name is Park Tae-Gyun. Until recently, I was the Dean of the Graduate School of International Studies of SNU, and as the Dean of GSIS, I worked closely with and watched closely the activities of the CTMS. So first of all, I would like to offer my congratulations on the opening of this very important international conference. The first round of this research project, concluded very successfully, and you have entered the second round, and I'm very happy for you, and congratulations. And in the second round, you have organized colloquiums of experts to approach this issue of care economy from various perspectives. And I think that this will resonate with not only Korean society, but society, the international community as well. I would like to thank all of you for your unstinted efforts in making this event possible. And also my thanks goes to everyone who is participating in this very important event. event. Professor Lee Peng of Toronto University, Professor Otgo Bangsraks of the Mongolian National University, Professor Delaney from Sri Lanka, Dr. Munhyana, Dr. Tae-Gyun, Dr. Seoul. Thank you very much. And also our discussants and moderators, Marina Durano of Uni Global Union, Elizabeth King of Brookings Institute, Emiko Ochiai of Kyoto University. Thank you very much. Care is no longer an issue bound in one country alone. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, care has become an issue that is the most important issue in all countries going through the pandemic. And it has become a transnational issue. Of course, care was an important issue even before the pandemic, but the pandemic has triggered an explosive growth in this issue's importance. And, with more people working from home, schools have shut down, and there were outbreaks in many nursing facilities. There were developments in the opposite direction as well. I had the opportunity to meet a woman professor on this campus, and she was not happy that the pandemic was over. Because during the pandemic, she was able to work from home and take care of her children, her 3 children at home as well. But now that the pandemic was over and she was not able to work from home anymore and she had to go to work, she was worried about how to provide care for her children. Of course, she didn't want the pandemic to continue, but her situation speaks about how difficult it is for people to be socially active in a society where the care system is not working properly. And I experienced the same thing in Vietnam. Last week, I was in Ho Chi Minh at the Humanities College of Ho Chi Minh University. I have some former students who are working as professors. All my students had 3 to 4 children each. But the status of women in Vietnam is lower than in Korea, and the Confucianism as well as such traditional ethics was very strong in Vietnam, and there were some people who postponed getting married if they're for 3 years after the death of their parents. That's how traditional some societies and communities in Vietnam were. And so, of course, most husbands, they did not participate at all in childcare. But fortunately, one of my former students had a husband who participated in childcare actively at the expense of his career. And there was another student of mine whose mother offered to take care of the children while she went to work. But it is a difficult situation, and the issue of care has become a huge global social issue, and also it intersects with the issue of migration. We have migrant workers working in the care sector in Korea, but not only that, we have Cambodian care workers in Vietnam, Indonesian care workers in Malaysia, Filipino care workers in Japan, and Myanmar care workers in Thailand. So it has become a transnational and transmigrational issue as well. And so the experts from all sectors of society have to come together to address this issue. Not only the government, but international bodies and the NGO sector, as well as the academia, have to come together to come up with solutions. And companies also have to do their part. I participated in creating the future vision for the Korean government back in 2020, and I was involved in creating the Care Farm program. It is a smart farm program where the disabled and the elderly come together and live together to protect their health. But it was very difficult to get this plan to get off the ground. It cannot be resolved with just government funding alone. Specialists from agricultural and social welfare and healthcare specialists have to come together and join forces with with businesses. So although we have gotten the project off the ground on a very small scale, the prospects are not very bright. And I think that events like this will pave the way for addressing this issue more effectively from diverse angles. So I have a lot of expectations for this conference, and I would like to thank also the Korea Association of Women's Studies and the Corporate Citizenship Office of POSCO and CTMS, and also Open Society Foundation for their unstinted support of CTMS. And I hope that you will continue to give us your interest and support so that the GSIS and CTMS of SNU will be able to do greater work in the future. Thank you very much to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Park, for sharing your genuine and keen interest in raising awareness on the topic of care issues and for your insights on searching for policy recommendations. Before we proceed, I would like to give you another announcement. For those of you who are seeking to receive interpretation services, if you wear the earphone, the receiver will automatically turn on, and you can log on to channel 5 for Korean interpretation and channel 6 for English interpretation. All right, then. We're now ready to invite Professor Hyun-Jae Lee, Professor of University of Seoul and the Vice President of the Korean Association of Women, for our second opening remarks. Please welcome her with a warm round of applause.
안녕하세요. 2022년 국제 돌봄
Welcome
컨퍼런스
to the 2022 International Conference on Aging Societies and Care Economy, Gender, Transnational Migration and Development. Welcome. As introduced, I am Lee Hyun-Jae, the Vice President of Korean Association of Women's Studies. Due to other arrangements, President Kim Hyun-mi will join us later, and I'm very pleased to greet all of you on behalf of President Kim Hyun-mi. Recently, I had the chance to rewatch the movie Antonia's Line, directed by Marlene Goris. This movie is about the creation of community by feminists. It shows what kind of community the feminists want. Antonia and her daughter and her granddaughter and her great-granddaughter has created a community, and it's well depicted in this movie. And here we can see the topics of reproduction and care. And reproduction and care is at the core of the community built by Antonia. Everyone helps one another in this community to achieve their best, but it's not a community where the women strive to become successful. All of the outsiders of conventional society come together in this community because it provides the foundation for them to look after one another. When I rewatched this movie, it reminded me of this care collective movement of Germany. We are seeing this new care revolution that's being led by this care collective in Germany. In times of degrowth or low fertility or aging society, these are the societies that we live in today, but we don't have a paradigm yet to overcome this, and we are resistant to find that solution from care. What is undermining us from finding the solution from care? From a feminist perspective, the transition towards a care society is very urgent and important. But on the other hand, I'm very saddened because transitioning towards a care society will enable women's liberation. That's what people say. However, this statement, I'm not sure how much it resonates with the younger generation today. The online Live Today feminists seem to have set success as their ultimate goal. The rise of feminist activism in the US and on digital platforms or other feminist dialogues mostly focus on individual success. That seems to be their main point of concern. So against this backdrop, in order for us to transition to a care society, what do we need to do? I think in this point in time, this conference is very meaningful in that we can talk about the topic care. Care or care economy is not limited to a single area or field. It is closely linked with all the policies and institutions of our society. So all the institutions and policies of our society needs to be reconstructed under the view of care. I would like to thank the director In-Gi-Soo of SNU Center for Transnational Migration and Social Inclusion for planning this conference. And I would like to also thank KAWS and also thank Senior Research Fellow Moon Yeon for coming back and forth from SNU to KAWS to organize this event. And I'm sure you've seen the program already, and I'm sure you've seen all the staff here. We have a lot of senior research fellows and TAs and interns who've put in a lot of work and cared for each other to organize this wonderful conference. And that was really touching. I think this is a really touching conference. Today, we will be hearing about global care economy, gender and care, and Korea's care crisis assessment. All of these sessions will provide us with much insight, and I hope that the findings that we talk about today can resonate with other academic fields. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Lee. It is thanks to the Korean Association of Women's Studies support that we're able to host this wonderful event today. And we now have with us Mr. Seonghyun Cheon, the head of the Corporate Citizenship Office at POSCO, here with us to share with us his congratulatory remarks. Please give him a round of applause.
Congratulations on the opening of the 2022 International Care Conference. I am Seonghyun, head of the Corporate Citizenship Office of POSCO. And I'm very happy that following on from last year, we are able to sponsor this year's event, the 4th International Care Conference. I'd like to also express my happiness at being in the same room as those who have enabled this conference to be organized. Professor Park Tae-Gyun of the Development Cooperation Policy Program of SNU, and also Vice President Hyun-Jae of the Korea Association of Women's Studies, and experts from civil society and the academia, both at home and abroad. So congratulations to you. From the perspective of businesses, what are we thinking about on this issue? I'd like to share that with you in my speech. In July, there was a report from the UN to commemorate the World Population Day. And according to that report, for the first time since 1960, 2020 was the year where the growth rate of world population recorded less than 1%, and the total fertility rate of the OECD countries combined dropped from 3.2 in 1960 to 1.6 in 2020. And according to the survey of the correlation between women's labor force participation rate and total fertility rate, countries where women were active in the labor market, such as the United States and Norway, the fertility rate was also high. So these studies show that creating a culture where working moms can balance their childcare duties with their work has a very positive impact on fertility rate as well. So this kind of culture would be very important. And in Korea also, the women with college degrees in their 20s and 30s is almost 80%, so it's one of the highest in the OECD country, among the OECD countries, and their economic independence is also quite remarkable. However, we have recorded a 0.81 fertility rate in 2021, and it's continuing to spiral downward. In the second quarter of this year, the fertility rate was 0.75. So we're breaking the low record. And because of the increasing burden placed on women who need to balance childcare duties with their work, more and more women are avoiding childbirth and even marriage. And the low birth rate has become exacerbated. And so POSCO has selected the low birth rate as a very important issue that we should tackle as a corporate citizen in 2018. And so we have been putting in diverse efforts. Internally, we have created a program for employees with young children to continue their career by working from home. So not only moms who gave birth, but also their husbands. They can work from home and continue their career as they take care of their babies and young children. And it is very well received among our employees. And female employees who are going through infertility treatment or are pregnant, or husbands, male employees whose wives are about to give birth, and also any employee who has childcare or care duties, family care duties, are able to make use of this work from home program. And the National Assembly of Korea is also trying to legislate work from home programs for working parents with young children, and this is being deliberated at the National Assembly Committee of Environment and Labor. And I am aware that the CTMS is also providing support for such policies. And at POSCO, we are also helping out our suppliers and vendors, the SMEs. So we are jointly running the childcare programs, daycare centers for POSCO employees and the SME employees, and also we are offering scholarships for employees of these POSCO suppliers who have young children. And also we are working with experts from the academia and relevant ministries when it comes to the issue of population, such as the Population Association of Korea and the CTMS, to open symposiums such as the 2020 Low Birth Rate Symposium and the Population Policy Seminar in 2021. And so we are contributing to building a social consensus on this issue, and also raising the migrant care workers' legal status and so on. And so we are contributing to connecting all this to national policies. And I hope that the insights and solutions that will be explored at this conference today will pave the way for the building of the care economy. So once again, my congratulations on the opening of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cheon. It is very meaningful that our conversation does not remain just within the academic sphere, but is constantly engaging the private sector, in which POSCO has been playing a leading role.